Good morning, boys and girls. How are you today? We are going to talk about ordering decimals and then do a very quick revision of adding and subtracting decimals. Now, I'm sure most of you are absolutely fine with this, but let's just double check, okay? So, when we are ordering our decimals, first of all, we need to understand, are we ordering them from the smallest to the biggest, or the biggest, greatest to the smallest, least? In other words, are they increasing, going from smallest to biggest, or decreasing, biggest to smallest? Okay? So, in this case, we're being asked, place the following decimals in order from least, smallest, to greatest, biggest. So, that's increasing, isn't it? Increasing. Smallest to biggest. Let's just do a little arrow there to remind you. Increasing and decreasing. Going up, going down, from low to high, high to low. Okie dokie, so first thing we need to do is to get our decimals here. So we've got 0.3 or 3 tenths, 0.12 or 12 hundredths, and then 0.37 or 37 hundredths. Yeah? First thing, let's line up the numbers on the decimal point. So when we've got them here, they're different, different numbers of numbers in here. We just line them up on the decimal point, and that makes everything easy. So next, next we need to add a 0 to 0.3, because if you see, the other numbers have hundredths, but this only has tenths. So let's put a 0 in to remind us that there are no hundredths, 0 hundredths. You don't have to do that, but it's helpful for thinking about the numbers, okay? So next, working from left, so the ones in this case, but it could be tens, hundredths, thousandths, millions, thousands, millions. Working from left to right, we compare. And remember, we want increasing order here. So we want to start with the smallest number. So we can compare the ones. Well, that's not very helpful. There's no ones in anything. So we go one step to the right and start comparing here. And immediately we can see that 1 is going to be our smallest. Okay? So we're going to put a first here. That's the smallest. Because 1/10 is smaller than 3/10 or 3/10. And it doesn't matter how many hundredths it has. If it's got less tenths, then it is smaller. Okay? So we know this is the smallest. What's the next smallest? Well, we've got 3/10 here and 3/10 here. Well, they're equal. Neither is smaller. So we can't, that doesn't help us compare there. So now we need to go another step to the right and compare hundredths. So we don't need to compare this one here because we already know this is the smallest. Which hundredths out of these two that are left are the smallest? Well, that would be 0 hundredths. So this is the next smallest. Or the next biggest, really. Okay, and then this one is the largest number, 0.37, because we've got 3/10 and 7 hundredths. So that's kind of come in third. Okay, and then if we line them up from smallest to biggest, that's exactly what we find here. So 0.12 is the smallest, and 0.37 is the biggest. So just remember, if you have two numbers that are the same up until here, you look and see which one has a bigger hundredth. So 7 is bigger than no hundredths, so it's the bigger number. Okay, let's try that again, shall we? So first, let's determine, are we ordering them from smallest to biggest or biggest to smallest? Increasing or decreasing? Place the following decimals in order from greatest to least, smallest. That's decreasing, right? Going down. So we've got three numbers here, 6.15, 6.157, and 6.2. So again, we're going to be looking for which one of these numbers is the biggest, the greatest. All right, so let's shuffle down here. So we need to start lining them up by our decimal, so we can put them into one of our place value counter chart things. And so we line up all the numbers along the decimal point. So we've got our ones, we've got our decimals, we've got our tenths, we've got our hundredths, and we've got our thousandths. Okay, and can you remember what we can put in here to remind us that there are no values? Well, yeah, we just stick a 0 in each of these. Okay, and then it looks like, oop, sorry, this is the second time I've recorded this because there was an issue the first time. There we are. Okay. All right. So now we've put our zeros in, we can start to compare the numbers. And remember, we're doing decreasing order here. So we're going from biggest to smallest. So we start by comparing our ones. So remember, we start here and we go left with our comparisons. So with our ones, they're all the same. We can't compare them. So all of these are just as big. The tenths, which has the most tenths? Well, that would be 2. And it doesn't matter how many hundredths or thousandths this has or these have, because 6.2 has the most tenths, it is the biggest. So we're going to put that first. Now we still need to find out which of these is the biggest. I'm going to cross these out to remind us not to look down here. So we're at tenths. That means we go to hundredths to see which is the next biggest. And the hundredths, they're the same. They're equal. So neither of them is bigger. Now we have to go to thousandths. And our thousandths, well, now we can see 7 is bigger than 0. So 7 will be the next biggest. And then last we've got 0, so that's going to be third. Yeah? Oops, that was a bit messy. Easy peasy. And as we can see here, that lines up with what we find down here. First, second, and third. Because 7 is bigger than 0. These are the same. And then we look at which one of these bits is bigger. All right, so that's comparing decimals. I'm sure you're already familiar with it, but I thought I would give it a quick explanation. And now let's very quickly run through adding and subtracting our decimals. Now, adding and subtracting our decimals, again, we will need to line our numbers up by the decimal point. So here we've got 0.64 plus 0.39. And we need to put them on top of each other by our decimal point. And once we've got them lined up, we just add our columns like normal. So 4 plus 9 is 3. 9 plus 3 is 9. 6 plus 3 is 9. Plus 1 from here is 10. And then the 1 becomes a 1. Easy, right? And again, in this one, let me get my little paintbrush, a pen. So in this one, we've got 5 ones, 1/10, and 4/100, and here we've got 3 ones, 3/10. How many hundredths do we have? We've got 0. So that can help you visualize the numbers. Okay? So now we line them up by the decimal point. So we put the ones together, the decimal points together, the tenths, and the hundredths. So there are no hundredths here. We can put a 0 to help us remember that. And then we just add up. 4 plus 0 gives us 4. 7 plus 3 is 10, or a 1. And then 8 plus 3 plus that 1 gives us 9. Easy. All right, let's do 2 more examples. Oh, sorry, this is subtraction. So for subtraction, it's just the same, but we need to remember, so we're putting our decimal points in line, and then it's a normal subtraction sum. All right? So we do tenths first, hundredths first, then tenths, and then ones if we have any. So here we would be, because we're doing 6 minus 9, we can't do that, so we cross out the 7, turn this into 16, and we put a 7 in. I doubled that up, that's fine. And then we finish our, then we just finish our subtraction, and we bring our 0 and our decimal point down. So, again, super quick fire, 2.01, so I write in here 2, because the ones go together, decimal point, 1, and then I can add a 0, because there's no hundredths here. So, 2 plus 0 is 2, 0 plus 1 is 1, and then 3 plus 2 is 5. Super easy. This time, we've got 12.8 minus 8.6. So I don't go 8.6 like this. Instead, I line it up 8 ones, a decimal point. How many tenths? Oh, 6 tenths. Okay, put a 6 here, and then if there's nothing, we just stick a 0. Okay. Then 8 minus 0 is 8. 0 minus 6. Oh, sorry. Let me just get some of that out of the way. 0 minus 6 we can't do, so we need to cross this into 1, and that becomes a 9. 9 minus 6 is 3. And then, getting ahead of myself again. Then 1 minus 8, oh, we can't do that, so we need to cross our 10. And this becomes 11. 11 minus 8 gives us 3. Okay, so just like normal numbers, we can get more tenths by crossing out ones, or get more hundredths by crossing out tenths. Cool. So that was a very short introduction. If you need any help, please